There were a lot of other people who would criticize him later for this. People like C.L.R. James, a very eminent Caribbean and international historian and an activist himself. People like that would criticize him, saying, or they were coming from the view that the tenor of the struggle, of his approach was too capitalist oriented.
All right. In a way, it is impossible for a leader not to face criticism because everybody is not the same. We are not seeing it from the same point of view. All right. That is also fair enough. Um, Now, you made mention of the Black Star and the organization, even before I ask you the question related to him eventually coming to the United States. So, one thing I would like you to clarify for me there is, did he form the organization before getting to the United States, or did he form the organization after he has got into the United States? Can you clarify that, please?
This I am not very clear on, but what was pivotal in his mind was that first of all, the Black Star Line was 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 going to be a tool through which the Black diaspora could go back to their origins in Africa. That was one thing, and so it was an idea he had from the onset in Jamaica. But what happened, I think, too, was that he thought that in the United States, that organization could have mushroomed, since he was looking to a lot of the emerging Black business people to support that venture. And a lot of these people were in the United States, as you know, in the period just after slavery. A number of Black communities prospered in the United States before they were suppressed. And so Garvey looked on these communities as communities from which he could have drawn entrepreneurial support.
Thank you for the clarification. Now, at what point can we say Garvey actually arrived as a leader in the community? I know that he has been doing this all along, from maybe see his father, from what the father was doing in the community, and then of course he will grow his influence beginning from Jamaica. But now in the United States, that is where we actually get to hear of him more. At what point in the line can we say Garvey have become the leader in the United States that people can look up to for salvation, for direction, for what is the next call on what to do?
Okay, I think we here we have to note that Garvey, in fact, in 1928, recognizing the importance of the political struggle, not just of the trade union struggle, but the political struggle for democratization, which would eventually lead to reforms and to independence. He saw that quite early, and in 1928 he formed what we call the People's Political Party in Jamaica. So quite early in Jamaica, we saw the formation of a political party by Garvey himself. We also saw other political parties and organizations. For example, a political party in Barbados, the very first political party in the island of Barbados, was formed under the influence of Garveyism. So a number of the political organizations that were being formed across the Caribbean drew their inspiration from the direct involvement of Garveyism. very direct involvement. So we saw that by that time, Garvey was already emerging as a figure that was binding the Black diaspora. There were conferences, for example, in London, and at these conferences, Garvey was now becoming recognized. As I say, he was going beyond what was looked upon as the elitism of leaders prior to him, who were well-meaning, who were Black, but who were removed from the mass of the people. And it was Garvey's connection and involvement and immersion with the mass of Black people, not only in Jamaica, and with his political party and with his involvement in trade unions, not only in other parts of the Caribbean, but in Central America. I want to say too that at that time, Garvey also dabbled in a bit of journalism, because one would realize that to spread the ideas, there was a need. Newspapers at the time and magazines were a big thing. And a lot of Black people now coming into having a certain amount of education, being able to read and write, were voraciously lapping up some of the ideas of Marcus Garvey, not only in Jamaica, but even in places like Belize and Panama. And so, and of course, he would go on to the United States as well. So it was in that period, by that time, Garvey was already or had already emerged as a formidable force.
Thank you so much for that, sir. I really appreciate the time. I appreciate the conversation. This is very important. It's an honor to learn about a great individual like us, Marcus Garvey. And of course, it's an honor to talk to you too, who is helping us to understand him. So I really am honored to talk to you. So Marcus Garvey, at the time, growing up from Jamaica, at a point managed to organize the entire diaspora, because now you made mention of the United States, you made mention also of going to as far as the United Kingdom, organizing a conference. In fact, one of the documentary that I did about Pan-Africanism, one of the persons that I interviewed here, right in the country where I am in Italy, did say that conference that was held in London was actually the very first time that the term Pan-Africanism was used, or something like that. Anyway, I'm not even there to contest that or to affirm it or whatever. But what I'm saying is that all Africans, diaspora, people of African descent, anywhere in the world, have a lot of respect for this individual. Now, the question is, what did Marcus Garvey actually mean by the term Pan-Africanism?
As far as one can gather, Pan-Africanism for Marcus Garvey was the uniting of people of African descent throughout the world. Again, he felt that was the condition under which the liberation of people of African descent all over the world would be achieved. He felt that you could not achieve that just in Jamaica alone, in the Caribbean alone, in Central America. No, it had to be the engagement of the entire diaspora, and as well as people on the African continent. I also want to point out that he never left out the people of mixed race, which were described as the coloreds. He as people also of African descent, he felt that these people should also be, and a number of them were, as a matter of fact, involved. For example, in Trinidad, you will find people like Rienzi and so on, who was of mixed race. People like that, Cipriani, who was of mixed race. These people welcomed Marcus Garvey. On the other hand, a number of people would later on feel that Marcus Garvey needed to go beyond just Pan-Africanism